Welcome to The Road is Dead, episode 116. I'm your host, Rob Curtis, here in the studio with
Leah Sanda.
And joining us remotely,
Tim Strelecki.
All right. So,
how's everybody doing?
I'm watching our numbers. Sorry, I'm watching our numbers buffer here. We're getting weird numbers here. So, talk amongst yourselves.
Oh, I'm good. I got buffering. I got 99%.
Yeah, we were at like 30%. I don't know if I've said this here on the podcast before. I'm sure I have, but I'm going to say it every single time. If you have an opportunity to create your own podcast and you're looking for software to do it, do not choose Riverside FM.
It's not the only podcast that I've heard say don't choose Riverside either.
Yeah, it's more headaches than it's worth, but I'm in it.
It's given us a platform to put our product out there for the people, right, for the masses.
Yeah. And there's other options now, and I wish somebody that knew a lot about podcasting would hit me up and say, "Hey, or let me talk you through this so I can get you on the right track." But it doesn't seem like that happens very often.
Well, now that you just put it out there, maybe it will.
I hope so. That would be great.
I think
we got to put some good karma out there into the world. We got a lot of good feedback from the last episode. Do get a lot of people asking a lot of stuff and talking about a lot of stuff. Don't get a lot of questions emailed in. I mean, email some questions, guys.
Did anybody have a fat bike for Tim? That's the one big one.
I didn't hear it. I didn't hear.
I actually thought about it today when I was riding. I was like, it's windy and it's colder than it's been, and I was like, I wonder if anyone's going to reach out and say they have a fat bike. I actually thought about that. That's a true story.
Did you?
Yeah.
You were out there riding this morning too, huh? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was out there not happy at first, but then I kind of settled into it and the sun came out.
It's down like brutal out there right now. I just made a run to go pick up Parker from school, and it was like in the 50s when I drove in here this morning, and it's low 40s, high 30s now.
Yeah.
Driving over there. All the fronts are moving in, and it looks like it looked like it was raining around when I was looking. But I saw somebody post that they're getting snow over in Streamwood, so it is snowing.
Yeah,
off and on.
We're supposed to get 1 to 3 inches tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
I thought you were getting that this weekend.
Damn.
Man, it's a good thing Scott doesn't listen to this.
Well, I don't know anything about that. Okay, I'm a horrible person. Yes, send your complaints to roadisdead@gmail.com. All one word, roadisdead@gmail.com.
Yeah.
I am always usually excited for snow. It's as much as I don't like being uncomfortably cold, like before races and after races, and during the race I never have an issue, but it's always the before and the after.
Yeah.
And but my competitive advantage in cyclocross are slickery, snotty, muddy courses.
Interesting.
That's my number one. If I had to design a course for me, honestly, the best course for me is what I raced at Montrose last year, the conditions at Montrose last year.
I would, at my core, say I'm the complete opposite of that, and yet my best race all last season was at Montrose. So I guess I intuitively just kind of do well at it, even if I hate it. Although I will say I kind of got into it, and it took a couple laps or whatever. And we've been racing a lot in the 40s this year, high 30s, low 40s. Not a lot of rain, but I've gotten really kind of used to that, whereas I would have hated that like a year or two ago.
Yeah.
And I've kind of gone, oh, okay, I know how to dress for that. I know where I'm going to be. I know kind of what to wear and stuff.
Yep.
So been dialing that in and feeling a lot better in the races. But I don't know, Tim, would you prefer a messy course or?
I don't know. I mean, I think for me, I'd prefer dry and fast, but not if dry and fast is just, like a all out watt contest. It's not fun. Like dry and fast and super technical. I'll give you this. I'll take dry and fast like King's was.
Right. Because it takes somebody with good handling skills in cornering at speed. And that's your advantage.
But
right.
I think I used to think that I sucked in the mud, but I've won some mud races, and like when I went to early season Wisconsin, I went to Waterloo, their second race, and it was a mudder, big time mudder. And I led all but the last 100 yards of that race when my chain fell off, and I thought I was like, wow, you're actually riding pretty good in the mud today. Like it's just sloppy, like no traction, all over the place. It's and in those, when you're in a track like that, it's just who can stay up.
Well, and that's it. I don't want a track that's muddy where you're just like barely moving and you just have to push power the whole time. That would be awful.
I hate peanut butter mud. Peanut butter mud is like the worst.
But if it's that kind of like, you have to have a really good ability to kind of hover and dance with the bike and let the bike kind of go where it needs to go.
Yeah.
Like sand. I'm really good in sand too, for that same reason. I can just keep the power into it and just let the thing float and glide and skate almost around, and I'm good with that. So.
I think that's like that's the trick. A lot of people get their butt puckers, or they get scared when it starts to go left or right, and they try to oversteer and correct, and they crash. You just got to let the bike do what the bike wants to do, and then you just have to gingerly kind of steer it.
You suggest where you would like it to go.
We need to go a little left now. Let's just start that a little early.
I just kind of turn my head and say, I need to go this way. Come on, follow me.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you gave our Woodstock course mud, especially like this year that we did it, or even the last two iterations, it'd be terrible. I remember in like 2018, it was a mudder.
18, yeah.
And that
18 or 19, yeah.
Shit was hard as hell.
Yeah.
And I remember a then 14-year-old Dylan Zakrajcek getting on the podium in the elite field. I was like, good for you, kid. Now look at him.
Dude, I contacted him, I want to say midsummer, to start talking to him to see if there was like an opportunity or anything. Never even returned my email.
Yeah. Well,
I was like, hey, you've been on the podium at the race I put on, and now, but I didn't get anything back.
Yeah.
But, oh, well.
What are you going to do? He's got bigger fish to fry.
That's payback for all the times riders have sent me a sponsorship request and I've never returned.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on mine.
Or anything. Checks in the mail.
No. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, I think I used to be a rider that was like, oh, it's muddy, and I would be petrified.
Yeah, I don't want to say I'm petrified. Riding wise, I don't have a problem. Once I'm wet and once I've got mud on me, I just don't care. Then I'm fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't enjoy the process of acclimation to those conditions. But once I'm acclimated, I'm fine.
It only takes a few times. I think the better I've gotten over the years at riding in the mud was just trusting my skill set and really understanding how low pressures you could run. And how much better it makes the race. Because I would probably start racing mud, or back when I started, I'd probably race a mud race with like 23, 24.
Yeah.
Like, that's not too good.
I would start 23, 24 at this point. But I weigh a bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. But I remember I did one a couple of years back. One of the Wisconsin races was a huge mudder, and on PDX, I had 11 and 12.
Wow.
Yeah. 11 and 12. First of all, I was shocked that they made it through the race, and I was shocked equally at how good they gripped at that pressure.
Yeah.
I was going to say, how did you arrive at that? Did you just keep dropping?
I kept just like I didn't warm up on a trainer or anything, so I was just riding around. It was crappy conditions, and I kept just swerving to see if they felt good, and I just kept stopping and just letting a little out until where I rode on some grass before, and I was like, okay, this feels good. I'll go with this. And I had no idea what it was, and then I got back after the race and put the gauge on it. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. That's one of those you don't want to know what it is before the start.
Right.
Yeah.
But that gets to 2013 in Verona for national championships up in Wisconsin when it was frozen over.
Mm.
I remember Ryan Trebone saying that he was running, I think it was between 12 and 15.
Yeah,
for what he was running.
He's a big guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even he was still lightweight, but with that height, it
Yeah.
still take him to 160, 170 pounds or something like that, 150,
Yeah.
160 pounds.
It's
So,
crazy.
yeah, it's crazy to know that you can get down that low. And that was a race where I heard Katie Compton ask for 9 psi.
Yeah.
So
I
during the
don't
race,
I don't think you can't get away with that PSI on a challenge tire. The PDX, harder casing, harder
he
compound, you can get away with it, I
he
think.
was racing on PDX. I want to say that she was on challenge at the time,
That's
but I don't
insane.
know for sure. But that or Dugast, pretty sure. I don't think she was on
That's crazy.
Donnelly / Clement at that point.
I mean, for me, I equate 9 psi in a challenge, no matter what tread pattern. 9 psi in a challenge is basically like riding on the rim.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
crazy. Oof.
and yeah. I mean, I don't know how much she weighed. I
Right,
know when she was probably at the high end, she was probably 130, 135.
right, right.
But
It's
at the
crazy.
low end, who knows? 120 ish.
Yeah.
It's not polite for me to sit here and try to guess somebody else's weight, but
Especially a woman's weight, you bastard.
well,
I know.
But yeah, so 12 psi was where he was running. I remember we were warming up this weekend on Saturday, and yes, I am going to get there. We were warming up this weekend Saturday morning. I went up to Wisconsin, did Cam Rock and Cam Rock and Roll CX, and Wojtek Klinkowski was there and kind of riding around and warming up with me. And he had switched. He had been in mud treads for like a year or two that he got from me at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And he has glued up new chicanes and he's out riding the chicanes and pre-riding. And at some point he asked me about pressures. And I was on 38. So I was riding 17 in the front and 19 in the rear.
Wow.
And he was like, what? He's I asked him what he had, and he had like 38 psi in there. I was like, you can go down from there,
Dude.
and he didn't. He always says it's kind of fun because he'll say that he's horrible at CX, and that he only does it because it gives him that his motor for road come spring is in much better shape. And
Yeah,
I totally get
I
that and
understand
understand
that.
it,
Yeah, for sure.
But he goes, I'm not a handling kind of guy. Any of these off cambers, I don't do any of that, which explains why in Kringle Cross that we went up to, he was there for that and he dropped out pretty much
Oh, wow.
pretty early in.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like, screw this, I'm done. But we pre-rode the course out at Cam Rock. If you guys have been in Cam Rock, it's people call it a roadie course. Like they were describing it that way to me afterwards, locals, and they were referring to it as a roadie course. That's I think an appropriate description for it. I don't know how else I would call it. It was something about that course that was different. To me, it was the near total elimination of anything technical, and yet what was there was. Correct me if I'm wrong, because you guys both raced it, but
Mm-hmm.
it seemed like, although it wasn't overtly technical anywhere, if you had some technical ability, you could really squeak out everything out of the turns and what was actually there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that helped me a lot. I know, because I didn't warm up. I got there super early. It didn't warm up. I just got on the course and just kept pre-riding it.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time I went around that course, I was puckered on a few things. And then I figured out that didn't need to be, and I could actually let it fly.
Yeah.
And I figured all that out in pre-riding. And then I started knowing, okay, I don't have to touch my brakes here at all,
Mm-hmm.
and I can actually upshift 3 years when I go into this.
Mm-hmm.
And it changed a lot of the riding for the course for me. But how would you guys describe the course?
Go ahead, Leah.
I would kind of agree with you, Rob. I think there was a lot of just wide open, super fast sections with sweeping turns that if you were comfortable in the line, you could just fly through them without brakes. I felt like I really wimped out on those little logs coming into them. I dumped a lot of speed and I rode over them, but I slowed way down to do it. And I was just like, you know what? If I jump these and I grab the rear tire, whack a log, and throw myself off balance and crash because of that. This close to nationals, I was like, nah,
Good heads up riding.
I'm not going to take that risk. And it's probably not going to be the thing that makes me win or lose the race anyway. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. I was initially thinking, I had this assumption that there were going to be elements of the mountain biking trails in the course, and there weren't. They weren't even on the same part of the park area that has the mountain biking. I thought I had a really good mix of things. They packed in a bunch of turns towards the end of the lap, and I think that was a key strategic area for some people to make moves in the fast open trails in the backside of the course before you got there, because they were packed in right before the finish and hard to make passes in there. So I thought it was good.
3/4 of the way through, and then you came back at the very end. It was kind of interesting. All those turns that's what you're talking about, all the turns.
Yeah, we're by the playground there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Tim, what's your thoughts?
Likewise, similar to the both of you. I thought when I wrote it, well, I excuse me, I had done a little homework and went on YouTube and tried to find some past years. So I watched those and kind of familiarized myself with it. And I knew that they weren't at the mountain bike trailhead where the Wars race takes place. You couldn't possibly ride a cyclocross race on that track at all. You could, but it wouldn't be very safe. So I watched the videos and I was like, okay, it's pretty wide open, looks flowy. And then I pre-wrote it and it was like, okay, similar to you, like you could really rip around here if you stay off your brakes. I mean, there was, a couple pinch points or areas where they purposefully slowed you down, which I thought still had good flow to them if you hit them correctly and had the right line in them. It was super good to just feel like you're going fast in a cross race, because generally your speeds are 10, 12, maybe 15 miles an hour, where there's sections where we were like 24, 5, 6 miles an hour. And it's like that kind of feels cool, know? Yeah. I thought it was a very good balanced course. Those that were willing to take the risks and stay on the gas in the areas that were wide open where you could corner quickly did so. And I liked, like you, Leah, I liked the tight stuff in the pavilion area where everyone seemed to congregate, podiums and all that. I thought that was necessary. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of that, but I understand you have to have that element in order to balance the track out. And I thought it flowed good. It seemed tight at first when I wrote it, but again, it's one of those scenarios where I felt like it raced better than it pre-rode. It was greasy in there, so that added a big element to it. All those turns were super greasy. And I found myself towards the later half of the race when 3 were off the front and we were in a group of 4 trying to catch them. And we eventually did, going into that last like super fast downhill to that kind of quick left right, and then you drop down the hill, come back up before you hit the final turn section. We were not far off of that group. We were maybe a second or 2 off. And then when we got into the tight stuff, it all kind of like accordion together, but you can't make a lot of passes there. And I found myself like, okay, I'm in 5th right now. What can I do? And I just kind of followed the rider in front of me for a minute. And then on the second to last corner, he swung left and I went straight to the inside and just bam, just shoulder checked him out of the way. And I took 4th. So it's not necessarily my favorite way of doing things, but sometimes you just gotta make it happen. And we talked about it afterwards. His name is Chad Cannon. Chad, if you're listening to this, we talked about it. I said I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry because that's racing. That's just the way it is. Like if you're listening to this and you're listening to me talk, and the racing is close, you'd be damn sure I'm going to try to do the same thing to you if it ever happens that way.
I'm pretty sure you body checked me at the start of the 45 plus, like last year at Wheeling.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like how can I say this without sounding like an asshole? When I'm racing, I'm not here to be your friend. I'm just not.
Right.
Like, I'm there to race. I'm there to do the best I can for myself. And if that means being a little aggressive, guess what? I'm going to be aggressive. I'm not there to make friends. We can talk about it later. You can hate me for the rest of your life. I don't care. I'm here to do something in racing, and being aggressive is part of my racing style. Now that I totally just went off the other direction on how the track is, sorry about that.
I've got the other opposite for this one,
but I really liked it. It was a good course.
How was yours?
My race started out really good. I felt really good the first half of the race, and settled in with a group that were trading positions. First place kind of got away really early, right at the start. And then it was like second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. We were all together. That whittled down to second through fifth place, trading places. And then I faded big time after what is 6 laps. My first 3 laps, I was feeling good and just trying to be smart and look for opportunities. And, and then it just, everything slowed down. And I think that's just from I was off the bike for a week and a half around Woodstock. And I think I was fighting off a little something in the background, which has now come to roost into my head, a little head cold. So, I did not feel great. My final half of the race, I ended up finishing fifth. But kind of by myself. I couldn't eventually hang with that same group, even though they were going the same speed. I just couldn't match it anymore.
Yeah.
So that was my race.
Hey, Rob, how was yours?
I'm glad you asked. If you've been on social media and follow me in any way, shape, or form, you've already seen and know the answer to this. But just to indulge those that haven't, and also take my 5 minutes of fame.
Absolutely.
Take it.
We'll say it's 5 minutes. I won.
Starting to watch.
I won the race. I won the 50 plus 4-5 race. And I was not expecting that in any way, shape, or form. You guys have heard me talk about it before. I like the idea that Wisconsin does that 50 plus 4-5. I've said before, it's a soft field. I don't mean to call it that way because that's kind of insulting to the guys that are racing it. But it's not the field. It's not the same field that I'm racing on Sunday in the CCC, being the 45 plus, because that's cat 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s and 5s. This is strictly 4s and 5s, and they've all met the criteria that they're at least 50 years of age. Myself, I'm 49 years of age calendar-wise, but, because of my December birthday.
That's it. Okay. I was just going to ask you, how do you jump so you essentially jump two cyclocross seasons in one
Every
year.
cyclocross season, I am 2 years older than my actual age.
Yep, me too.
Wow.
Until usually Montrose, because my birthday is usually the week of Montrose. So that's the only time I'm 1 year.
Yeah, my birthday is December 21st, so I'm always 2 years for cross off.
Man, seems like the perfect cross birthday is like March.
Right.
One age the whole year.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing, and like I've said on here before, it's why I haven't really known my actual age for a long time. But now with me turning 50 in a week and a half, 2 weeks, I know for a fact I'm 49 right now. So it's kind of nice to go up there and be 49 and doing it. Also having a good season.
Yeah.
And I've raced more already this season than I have for the previous 2 years combined. So
it's a good feeling, right?
Yeah, it really is. And I'm having a lot of fun doing it. And I think you guys heard me. The last podcast I talked about the fact that I'm not looking forward to the season ending. I'm really enjoying it. So that all played into my decision to go up to Wisconsin this last week. Somebody mentioned it, and it was probably Leah that mentioned it, or Anthony. And I looked at it and realized it was in Madison, south of Madison, and that it wasn't going to be that far of a drive, and that I could go and do it. And people started saying it's kind of a roadie course. Or I didn't hear the roadie course part until I'd been up there, but I think, Tim, you looked at the videos, and then Anthony looked at the videos and was like, yeah, it looks like an FTP test. And that's why Anthony wasn't all that excited and didn't want to go because he wanted to concentrate on wheeling. But I don't know. For me, that seemed like that would play to my strengths right now for where I'm at. So,
well, it suits
I
you.
decided to go.
You're a low cadence kind of guy.
Yeah, and yeah, and of course, I mean, I already said I won, so it played to my favor, for sure. But because of being up there before, my points have been going in the right direction. Even though I don't understand cross results points, I really don't. There have been so many situations where I've beat people that have better points than me, and yet my points then go the wrong direction. I don't get that or understand that. But I know Dustin, after I said this on one of the podcasts, Dustin messaged me that he would teach me how to do the math on that and explain it, but it doesn't make any sense to me. But my points were of such a way that I ended up getting 10th for the call up for the race, which put me second row. I had, like I said, I pre-rode that course the whole morning after I got there. I just kept riding and riding and riding and riding and riding. And I really dialed in lines. I really dialed in my pressure. I dialed in where I wanted to be for everything. Also knowing that those were the exact conditions that I was going to race in because that was the first race of the day. So that was a huge benefit. And I do realize that. It was an on-the-road start, and I was second row. I knew what side I wanted to line up in, and I knew I wanted to punch it for the start. I practiced the start like 3 times before the race, so I knew how fast I could take that first turn.
Good for you.
It's a little
greasy.
It wasn't when we started. It wasn't when we started. That's why I kept doing it, is because I did it enough to know that at speed I had grip.
Did you have?
And I could take that first turn.
Dew or anything?
Oh yeah, there was, but I mean,
Nice.
we had full grip
Nice.
for that first race.
Awesome.
Until about lap 3. And then it got greasy. But it wasn't horrible.
Nice.
But so we got the start, and it was like one of these. I don't know what it was, but right before the start, instead of focusing on, I usually look straight down, or I look at the rider in front of me, just so I get an idea when everything starts moving, and then I can start going or whatever. This time, for some reason, I stared through the rider and actually looked at the road, up the road. And I just focused on that. We got the whistle. I took off, and I just started clicking through the gears like I had been doing all my pre-laps. And next thing I knew, I looked around, and I was like, I'm third going into this first turn. And I'm like, wouldn't that be really cool if I could stay up here and actually get on the podium today? That would be pretty neat. That's the quick thought, and it's like, whatever. We'll see what happens. You made the turn, you went up the hill, you had the barriers at the top of the hill. By the time we got up there, even Wojtek did a quick in route around me. And because I was burning out a little towards the top of that. And I had like no speed at the top, trying to get off the bike. Like, I think 3 guys or so passed me at that point. I got back on the bike, and then I was immediately pissed off because that first turn right after the barriers was, I don't want to call it technical, but it was one of these where if you didn't know, I had worked out a line through it, and I knew the line was fast, and I knew I didn't need to touch my brakes. And everybody in front of me, it seemed like, didn't pre-ride. So I had no idea what the line was, and they were like full on brakes going into it. And that just pissed me off because I was like, now I'm bleeding speed in the one place where I figured it out beforehand. Right after that, the next turn, same thing, full on brakes, and I went through a couple turns like that. But when it would open up, the guy that I was behind, he was fast. I could not get like right around him immediately. And I was like, I gotta figure this out. I gotta get around this guy. Because, you could see the leaders, like 2 or 3 guys up front, were just kind of starting to pull away. And I was like, I want to be there. I know I can be there, and I want to be there right now. And so there was a kind of a long sweeping left-hander that was kind of wide. And I think a lot of people were wanting to take it out wide and then cut it in. I had worked out that if you stayed far on the inside, you could just like grab the brush as you were going by and then let it kind of carry you out. It like laid out perfectly for me. And that guy kind of went wide, and I hit the inside, and I just jetted. and went, and I was able to get past him. Then I was on to third place, and I was doing the same thing, worked my way around him, and then I was on second, and I got in a position where I was like, it was kind of like one of these like, oh crap, now I'm coming up on the next guy. Now I'm coming up on the next guy. And I just wanted to get by. And I was filled with this like desire of I've got to go now while I can, and I'm feeling it, and these guys just feel slow to me. And they obviously weren't slow, but it just felt that way to me. And it was like, I've got to go now. And I saw an opportunity for second. I went around him, and I was worried, or third, or second, I guess. And then the guy that was in first, I was onto him, and just as I was getting onto him, he overcooked a turn where there was that huge rock that was sticking out on the left-hand side of it. And they kind of made the tape kind of come in a little bit. So you were kind of going right over that rock.
I love that.
It was cool. I like that part, but he overcooked it, and I saw his handlebar move, and he got into the tape, and then he took out like 2 stakes right there. And I was like, I just head down, gone. I mean, I hit it as hard as I could. And there was a little roots after that, kind of jumped those and just took off. When we got to the logs, I was doing the same thing with Leah. I was like, I don't want to hop these. I tried hopping them. I knew I probably could hop them if I was confident, but I knew that in the race, I wouldn't have the confidence. Also, I knew that the longer the race went, the more tired I was going to get, and the odds of me clearing them clean was going to drop significantly. I tried it during pre-ride, and I knew I was a little slow going into them, and I would have normally gone into them faster, but I tried it anyway to see if I clear it. And I got most of the way over, and I just banged the tip of the rear wheel, and it was enough to kind of kick it up, but not badly. But it was enough that I was like, okay, I'm not doing that in the race. I'm going to roll them just like Leah was doing.
Good decision.
So I came down, and I was doing that. I was like full on the brakes, and then to kind of roll them, and that's when that guy shot right past me again. And I was like, oh well, I was already getting settled into the mindset of, well, people are going to come by me. There's no way I can hold this position. And like I said in my report, I had Wayne Simon and Tim Strelecki both in my head, basically going, if you think negative, then you've already lost. You know, shut the hell up. Understand that you have every right to win this, and that you can win this, and just shut the fuck up and go. And so I just did. And this guy, I sized him up. I kind of knew where he was going to go. Everybody was yelling at him to catch me in the straights. And the guy had power in the straights. So I was like, okay, I must be picking him up in any of the quote unquote technical stuff. But he had the ability to hop those logs. So I was like, I'm screwed there every lap. But we got to the hill, and the big drop in hill. And I had run that enough during pre-ride to know I had full traction on it. And it was a full send for me. And I could see he was already hesitating at the top and kind of coasting, and he was touching his brakes. And I was like, no. I hit 2 gears, dropped straight through it, and he was kind of rolling it out, and I just kind of went right around him because I was pedaling through that whole section, that whole next section.
I wish I had 2 more gears there.
That was the other thing. For the first time, I actually had my Garmin give me the beep that I was out of gears the other way, and it did that twice in that race, and it was right in that section there.
Nice.
So it was like, I'm just going to give it all. Went up, I did that 180 there, and then it's got that little hump, and then you go up the big climb.
Yeah.
When I did that 180, as I started to go over the hump, he came flying past me again, and I was like, man, I don't know. And then I knew that climb was coming. I'm like, I'll see what he's got. I go, I normally can't climb, but let's see. He's probably going to outclimb me, but just stay on his wheel, and see what happens. We climbed it. I got to the top of it, and he literally like hesitated and came right back at me. And I was like, that's where he just died. And I threw the hammer down and
that's
went
first
right
lap.
around him. That was first lap.
Yeah, that's
so
lap 1.
I went right around him, and then I just kept the hammer down. I came across the line first on the first lap. And as I did it, I looked at Rich Weiss and Paul, the announcer, and I looked at both of them and I pointed at myself and I went, I'm in first as I was going by.
You're your own hype
I
man.
had my eyeballs were like this, you know. I know they were, and I was like, I wanted somebody else to actually see this, you know, and know that it was actually happening.
Yeah.
And then as I was, you know, running away from it, I heard Paul in the background go, "Well, apparently Rob Curtis is leading the 50 plus 4.5," and it just, I mean, from there it was like, okay,
Just
how
hit
much
your
time is
marks.
left in the race? How much time is left in the race?
Yeah.
And I was doing the math beforehand. I was like, we're going to do 3 laps. And one of the guys that races there all the time is like, no, we're going to do 4. And so I kind of had that in the back of my head. I was like, 3 laps, I can do this. 4, it might be tough, but I just got to do what I got to do. So I hit all my marks, focused on everything, tried not to override everything, and which was hard to do a couple times. But there was one. You hit the grass, went kind of up, did another 180, came down, and then a 180 back onto the big path that was around. And that little 180 at the big path, I had gotten that down to where I was standing locked out and just kind of smoothly took it each time. And it was perfect. And it was just doing stuff like that was fun. But on the first lap, Nathan Phelps, who listens to this, he's up there. He runs the Griffin Velo racing team. Awesome guy, does a lot of stuff with the WC up there as well. And he was out there, and he listens and knows I've never been on a podium. So first lap, he's like, "Rob, you're in third," and I'm like, "I know," but it was nice to hear him say that. And then he became my hype man for like the rest of the race. You know, everyone there is cheering for the guy that's behind him because they know me or know him. They don't know me.
Yep.
And but you know, Nathan was coming up, going, you know, you've got like 3 seconds. You got like 5 seconds. You know.
That's
and
crucial.
He's closing, but you
like
got it.
That.
Yeah. I didn't turn around once.
Yeah.
I didn't turn around once at all. The only time I knew where he was is if I heard him or if, you know, those technical turns by the pavilion, I could see him then.
Yeah.
And I had an idea. And there was one lap where I was like, oh, he's closing hard. And he was on me again as we left that area and then headed to the big downhill. And that's where I just hit the gas again. Yeah. Every time, man. I was putting distance in there on that descent every time. So it's a roadie course. I put in distance on the descents.
I think just to chime in on something you just said, where you can hear him. I think that is an unrecognized skill set as a cross racer, to audibly know what's going on around you while you're trying to focus on what you're doing. I don't think there's a lot of people even try to practice this, but it's something that I put into practice a long time ago, is to pay attention to what's happening either in front of you or especially behind you. If you can audibly hear that someone's shifting, that's a sign. If you can audibly hear that somebody's braking, that's a sign. If you can hear that they're breathing heavy, that's a sign. Like if it takes a little bit to tune into that and to know what you're doing, because you're so focused on what you're actually doing as a bike rider, you're not paying attention to that stuff, or like audibly listening to the crowd. And what they're telling someone behind you or telling you. It's a skill set. It's not
every time I went over those logs and I had to do that climb right after, I would listen for the time difference between when I would start climbing and when they'd be like, because I knew he cleared the logs. And I was like, okay, that's how much of a gap I got, each time. So I was like going the whole time, but I totally know what you mean. And I do that. I don't know where I picked it up or anything, but I've always done that. I'm always listening for breathing. I'm always listening for shifting and braking. Big one is freewheeling for me, because it means I'm like, okay, so they're resting. When I'm behind them, I'm paying attention to it because I want to know when they're resting. And to know, okay, if I don't need to rest there, then the next time around there, I can throw down there, because they want to recover in that section. So I just made a point, just try to hit all my marks, just try to get every corner. And it's one of the few races where things got better as I went, and I started getting the corners better as I went. And it was like a mix between, oh, this is awesome. Okay, focus, execute, just hold this. I felt fine physically the whole time, which blew my mind. And then the other part of the time was literally me bursting into tears instantaneously, because it was like, holy crap, I'm in first.
No, that's awesome.
I don't know what I'm doing.
I've been there.
And like, is this really going to happen? And then like, for a split second. And then it was like, oh, get back to it. But I remember this one time you get up to the top of the hill, and then there was this gravel kind of run out, left-hander, and I kept feeling like I was going to wash out there, but I didn't. But doing that gravel left-hander, I thought of Kenny, Leah, Anthony, and you, and I was like, they're not going to believe this. If I win this, no one is going to believe a fucking word that I say. There's no way that I can tell anybody. How am I going to tell anybody this? Because no one's going to believe it. Then right after that, it was like, no one's here to see it. And that, believe it or not, didn't bug me that much. I was like, I'm actually probably doing better because no one's here to see it.
No one has to be there to see it. If it's in the result sheet, it's there.
Right.
Who cares?
So
you were there. You did the work. You got the V.
It was fun. And it was enough that I got to the end, last lap. I get through the tight section.
Yeah.
I get to those greasy turns at the very end.
Don't blow it. Don't blow it. Don't blow it.
Yeah, and I'm like at a walking pace going through those because I'm like, I'm not going to slide out now.
Yeah.
Especially and I kept telling myself, well, and he was coming, but I could just kind of hear him coming. I didn't see him, so I knew it was far enough back.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I kept going, if you get to here and you don't see him, then you're good. If you get to here, if you don't see him, you're good. Mm-hmm. And I kept moving that point because I was like, well, you never know. And I was getting to the last turn, and I looked back, and I didn't see anybody. I was like, I've got it. And then it was like, got on the pavement, started just cramming it because still scared to hell that somebody was going to come out.
Don't want to throw it away.
And then I'm like, what do I do for a post-up? I've never practiced a post. I have no idea how people do this. And so I just did the whole – I had my jersey unzipped like a quarter or an eighth, and so I just sat up, zipped it up, and posted up.
There
and then wrote it out.
Did you get a picture of that?
I don't think
so.
That would have been awesome.
So I know like you texted and talked to Julie right away.
Yeah.
And then I got a text from you and I was in the car driving.
So was I.
And I was like, oh my God, holy shit. And then Julie starts messaging me. And she's like, you need to get pictures of the podium. And I'm like, I'm driving. I have 20 minutes.
Highway.
I'm like, I have 20 minutes of driving. There's no way I'm going to make it there. So I get there, I park, I get out of the car, and I start walking toward where I can hear, like, it seems like, okay, that's probably where registration is. And then I start to hear them announce the podiums. And I was like, wait, what? Did I just hear it right? And then I heard him say, and 50 plus will be up next. And I started running.
Nice.
And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't miss it. Holy shit.
I was holding a camera for the guys in the 30 or 35, whatever it is, podium before me.
You shoved a GoPro and a phone
he had
into
handed
my hand,
it to
and
me.
I had my phone, and I'm like,
He had handed it to me to do his podium, and I'm like, okay, your podium's done. But then he was over at the prize table trying to pick out a prize, and I'm like, I got to get rid of this.
Yeah.
She literally materialized right then, and it was like,
perfect.
Here, can you take a picture? And I go running up to jump on the podium. They the way they were doing the podiums, they were just like, okay, so third place was this, second was this, first was this,
Yeah.
So we all kind of went up there at the same time. But luckily, I have seen 1,000 podiums, so it was very quick for me to just run up and go. It would be a lot cool. I mean, I would feel more comfortable just putting up one hand, but now I got to put up two like an idiot. And I'm like,
it's like, do you do this? Do you do this?
I felt like I had turned into my favorite emoji.
Stretch that.
and of course, I had a cookie, in my hand because they gave us a cookie, which was awesome. I did appreciate that. So I got a cookie and I got a Shimano water bottle.
Nice.
Gotta love it. But and it dawned on me later. It's like I've been doing this for 40 years, 30 some odd years, and I've never been on a podium. You guys have heard me say that before, but not only a podium, but it was first. So I don't. I'm doing this. You know what I was about to say. I don't expect to ever do it again, but I know you would jump in and go, why not?
You read my mind.
Yeah, I know it's within my ability to do it again. I'm not going to go home disappointed if I don't. You know what I mean? But I'm going to go out there and fucking race my ass off.
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever thought of, okay, you raced your 50 plus 4.5 in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought of racing the 3.4 here?
I was asking Anthony about that last night while we were riding. So I have thought about it before. I think I should try it, but I need to try it honestly, I probably need to try it on Sunday. When
try
I'm
it at
I
one
don't
of
want
the
to try it at
venues that you
Montrose.
like.
Yeah,
No, don't try it this year. Just wait till next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking that, and I was asking him. I go, what are points like there? Because I was like, it's a stiffer competition. And Anthony's like, you get screwed on points if you race the 3/4s. So you get worse points in that than you do racing the Masters, because the Masters is a tougher field. Our straight up Masters.
Let me ask you a question. Why are you so hell bent on points?
I was trying to figure that one out too. One, staging. I didn't really care about staging.
I mean, it makes a huge difference.
It made all of the difference in this particular race. If I had been further back, and if you guys remember when I was talking about Kringlecross when I was up there, I now reflecting on it, I didn't get a great start, but no one was going fast at the start. But then I just got in line because we had a barrier really soon after the start. I now know, but I felt perfectly strong, and I just felt like people were getting in my way, and I had to pick off a lot of people at Kringlecross. I feel like if I had gotten a clean look at the start and actually just said, come hell or high water, I'm going into that corner first, I actually would have done really well at Kringlecross. So, and then after doing the start on Saturday, 100%, I wouldn't have even had a look at those guys if I hadn't have been up there in the mix at the start of it. So giving me the opportunity to get the look meant a lot. So if I'm not going to get that kind of a position, then, I'm not to say that I can't quote unquote win something, but in the R45 plus, I'm in the 4th or 5th row, and there's only so much you can do. I've done a lot with it.
90% of those people in the 4 rows in front of you don't know how to ride anyway.
It's Dash is in front of me.
There's exceptions, but they're not.
That was a quick shot at Dash. I'm hoping he's listening.
They're not. The majority of those guys are like, I'll keep my mouth shut.
It's a mix. I mean, there's some guys
that's a good way to put it. It's a mix.
There's a guy, and I'm not talking poorly about him to mention it, but there's a guy that's on a team that you used to be on, that he races single speed as well as 45 plus, and his single speed points are fabulous. So he gets a call up that's like 2 rows in front of me. Yeah. And I've beat him, I think 3 out of the last times I've raced him, but it's one of these where at the start he is like way up there, and it takes me a good quarter lap to get up to him, and to even start racing with him. And we do race like against each other, I'll say. So like he's either right in front of me or he's just behind me or one of the two. So he's one of the guys I get to kind of trade spars with every week.
So you could,
but he's way far up, and it's because of that point situation. So I care about points in that way, and the other way that I care about points,
sense. I get it,
is I spent a lot of time riding and prepping for this season in hopes of having a good season, and I've had a lot of indicators this year to tell me. People are like, "Oh, you look great. Oh, you've been putting in so many miles. All this stuff." That's all fine and dandy. Until you go to race. The whole point was to feel like I was back in the race again. I got that. I got that from the first race.
Yeah.
But what I was starting to get kind of down about was that, the courses that I love, like Bartlett and Campton, I was getting horrible points on, worse points than I had gotten even last year. And I'm like, I thought I had good races out there, and now I'm seeing this. So to me, the points were kind of like the only objective look at what I had, where I'm at, where my fitness is, or how I'm racing.
Right.
So to me, it's either going to be an indicator of poor fitness, or it's going to be an indicator that I need to learn something that I haven't learned yet, either out starting or cornering or something like that. So that's where I've been using the points. That being said, that win was like 419 or 412 or 417 on the points. So I'll take that.
What you should learn, especially from our series, starting where you start, is how to race aggressively and get to the front as fast as you can. As fast as you can. You should treat your first lap, not necessarily go into the red, but you should treat your first lap from your starting position like you would treat your last lap. Fast as hell. And just get by all the scrum.
I will say that I totally. I mean, I think I intuitively knew that before when you would say that to me, but now I totally understand that.
But you now you have a clearer vision of it, a clearer
Yes.
picture of
Yeah.
what it means.
I know what it looks like, and I know what the results can be.
Yeah.
And Barron, I was talking to Barron about it, and he said something like, because I just shellacked a guy in that race that I won. I shellacked a guy who's been beating me the last like 3 or 4 times I've raced him. And I beat him once this year at Englewood, and then he was starting to beat me by 1, 2, 3, 4 positions, you know. And I beat him by 7 positions. Or no, it was over 10. I beat him by over 10 positions because it doesn't count in my, you know, head to head now. But and I did that, and I was thinking to myself, he's got a motor. I know he's got a motor. I've been racing against him all year. And the only difference is I just got way the hell past him at the start.
Yeah.
And I put him so far back at the start that not only he could have been riding as hard as he could, but he still had to get around all those people to get up to me. And even if he was turning better lap times than me every lap, it's having to make back that distance as well is what really kind of, you know, did it overall, I think. So
I mean, you gotta like understand also the people that are in front of you and what their skills are. Like, oh, this guy sucks at turning. I'm going to get him in all these turns.
Yeah.
Oh, this guy's got an engine, but it burns out real quick. So I can get past him. He may be on me, but he's going to burn out. And once you start to figure that out and figure out riders' mannerisms or their skill sets or their strengths versus their weaknesses, you can make your decisions to get by them become like second nature.
Yeah.
You know?
And this played into, I'm going to do the transition here, but to wheeling the next day. So we came back, we all raced wheeling.
Leah got a chance to race wheeling for the first time, didn't you, Leah?
That's right. You had not done it before.
Tell us about it.
I usually end up officiating there.
What'd you think? This is your first time?
Yeah, and I know that the course has changed.
Mm-hmm.
It's morphed a lot over the years. I don't have anything bad to say about the course. There were places on the course. I like the ramp in the back. I liked being able to go full send and fly down that hill.
Okay.
And know that I could aggressively turn my body at the bottom to make that turn at speed.
Yeah.
It's a good little berm.
Yeah, that was good. I like that spot. Yeah, that was definitely my favorite spot. The A-line, B-line thing with the big square boards in the bag that's through the deep, heavy grass. I didn't hate that. I mean, I never really felt like I did. I like stuff like that in a course. I like stuff that challenges me but briefly. I really just had an absolute brain fart the whole day, and going into the barriers, every time it was fast.
Yeah.
The barriers were fast. And I dismounted and ran through those barriers so fast, and I was happy about that. But then, man, it's like I completely forgot how to remount my bike because the whole day, the previous day at Camrock, it was up a hill, kind of slow.
Yeah.
And my left side pedal was like down when I put the bike down. I was running. As I'm running, I just step on the pedal and swing my leg over instead of having to do a running remount because I was going slow enough that it wasn't going to make a difference speed wise. And I was so gassed, heart rate coming up that hill and then getting over the barriers there that I was afraid I wouldn't have the ability to make the jump and clear the saddle, might get my leg over the saddle and screw that up because I've done that in the past. So I have this like PTSD on that now. So at wheeling, I was just like the first time through there, I almost tripped over my bike and fell because I was like doing this weird, gonna just like instinctually step on the pedal, but then no, I need to jump. And I just fumbled the whole thing up, and like three girls got around me, and I
You're sitting there. Come on, Sanda.
I was like, I don't know what's going on.
It's the worst feeling.
But and I don't think it really would have mattered. However, my race on Saturday was long. It was 51 minutes. We did 6 laps.
Nice.
And I even though I faded, I was by myself, I never let off the gas as much as I couldn't go as fast. Like I buried myself on that course.
Yeah.
So when I showed up to Wheeling, I was just dead. I had nothing. And I mean, I raced super aggressively and at the start, and within like a minute or two, people are just starting to pick me off and pass me, and then the barriers at the end, and I'm just like, I am dying a slow death here. So hey, we're just going to take whatever I have left in the tank, and we're going to stick it in that coffin, and I'm going to call it a solid training day.
Good.
And it is what it is. I finished 8th. Like I said, I just, that same mindset though, is like, stay in it, keep pushing. And actually, when I looked at my lap times, my first lap was my fastest. My second lap was my second fastest. My third and fourth lap, the speed dropped a lot. They were both about the same, but they were a lot slower because I was just dying. But I actually turned the screws on just a little bit more for that final lap because I could see the 2 girls ahead of me weren't that far. And I'm like, I really doubt I'm going to catch them, but you never know.
Right.
So just looking for squeezing out every half a second here and half a second there in turns. I picked up another 5 seconds a lap on that final lap. It was nowhere near enough to catch them, but I just kept trying to use whatever I had at my disposal.
If your last lap is faster than every other lap prior, you did it right.
It wasn't as fast as my first and second lap, but it was a little faster than my third and fourth lap. So I go home from the weekend. I know my husband came out to watch, which was awesome. And he, I think, realized at the end of the race, he was like, I'm probably just going to say goodbye and go because she's not going to be happy with us today.
Yeah, he said
That's what you said. And I'm like, I wasn't unhappy with the race. I mean, obviously I would have liked to have felt amazing, but given what had transpired in the previous week and a half and everything going on, and I was just like, I'm good with this. This is fine. Yeah. I knew it was going to be a hard restart, getting back going again. So
nice.
Yeah.
Valuable training day, like you said.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tim?
Same old story, man, for me. I mean, racing the kids is hard. I've especially come to notice that this year. I mean, they've got exponentially better. I feel like I'm still there. I'm still in it. I'm still there to fight for it, which is good. And, but like, I felt good Sunday. Like I was like, I knew Camrock would open me up. So I was like, okay, I felt good. Like Camrock, I was pretty toasted after. I was like, I just did like a road race. Like I felt like I like never let off the gas the whole time. So I knew like I'm generally better. I'm a better second day racer anyway. So all in like pre-rides and stuff like that at Wheeling, no aches, no pains in my legs. I was like, okay, we're good today. We're good today. I got, I think, a 4th place start behind Roscoe, Henry, Ross, and then myself. And then I think Rory was behind me. It was just kind of chill. They gapped us a little bit on the path going out towards the back. I brought that back. And then it's kind of funny. We were going, doing all the little turns, dropping to the low point of the course before you turn and come and hit those railroad ties. And Thunberg Ross had made a couple mistakes and he was blasting through the tape. And I like audibly told him, I was like, you got to straighten that out, Ross. And then we started to hit that downhill soft right to the low point, and my front wheel hit a bump and I popped a little wheelie. And when it set back down, it set back on the camber and I just crashed. And I was like, you asshole. And like Rory was behind me. I think he ran into me and he's like, oh, geez. And I'm like, I'm sorry, man. Like audibly, like, I'm sorry. Because it feels like shit when you crash. First of all, you call someone out. And then the universe sprinkles its little dust over you and you're like, don't be a dick. It's like, don't be a dick. And then it makes you crash and you feel like an idiot crashing at the very first lap at the front of the race. So it is what it is. I got back up, and at that point, Roscoe was up the track a little bit. Henry was up the track. Rory had got by me and got kind of in touch with that, and Ross was still up there. So I was stuck behind 2 other guys. So I think I was like 6th or 7th wheel on the first lap, and I was just like, okay, sit here for a minute, kind of make sure, like, do a systems check. Is everything good? Everything was good. Like, wasn't injured. To bang the brake lever back a little bit. It was cool. And then I started to notice as we started to come past the pool area and drop back by the pit, I was stuck behind 2 slower riders, and I'm like, I gotta just, they're leaving. I have to go catch them. So
Yeah.
I made a couple of aggressive passes, got by them, and kept Roscoe and Rory in sight for the majority, but they just have like another gear. I didn't have it. I think I had to burn like a good match or two to get within like the 5 or 10 seconds that I was in the initial first half of the race. And then they linked up together, and they were just they were duking it out, pushing the pace a little bit with each other, trading blows as because I had a front row seat to it. I could see what was going on as I was only like 10 seconds off, throughout the majority of the race. And then they just they softened it up a little bit. So I would like come back, maybe another second here, another second there. And then with like 1 to go, they hit the gas, and I was like, all right, it is what it is. 3rd on the day. But like you, Leah, like I find when it's like that, when you have the leaders in sight and you're doing everything you can to bring them back, but they're just riding well and working well together to kind of like keep you off of their group, which I understand. You just have to stay in it. And then when fourth place, so when it was all said and done, Roscoe wins. Rory's 5 seconds back. I'm 23 seconds back. 4th place was 2.5 minutes back.
Wow.
So when you have that much of a gap between, me sitting in 3rd and 4th place, and I don't know where 4th place is at this time. I'm just like you, Leah, full gas. Just that's the hardest I've ever tried in 3rd place in a long time. I mean, dude, I had spit coming off my chin. I was cross-eyed. I looked at it as like, I'm not catching them. I'm not going to get caught. I'm just going to bury myself for these last 2 laps. And I hadn't had the Belgian popsicle hanging like in years.
Yeah.
It's like foaming at the mouth, spit, snot. It was disgusting, but it felt good. So
Yeah.
third on the day for me. I'll take it.
Nice. For sure. Yeah, it was fun to watch.
Yeah, it's a quality. It's a quality. When I look on the Monday following, when I look back at the combination of both days, solid weekend of racing for me, 2 days in a row.
Yeah. The Camrock, like where you said it would open you up. Me, I was like, I'm slaughtered. There's no way I'm not slaughtered on this. I did want to mention though, we were talking about the Universal Karma. When I was at Camrock, I started coming up because we start behind the 35 plus or 30 plus or whatever it is. And so we were into them, and I got to pass quite a few of those riders. And there was one, he was in front of me going really slow. And we got in those technical turns, and my gut instinct was just like, get the hell out of the way, because I got to stay in front of this guy. And I was like, just don't do it. Don't do it.
Good for you.
So I got behind him. I just got behind him. I was like, there you go. You got it. Go ahead. Go. Yep. Off the brakes. You're good. You got it.
Nice.
And I cheered him on through a couple turns. And then when it opened up, I was like, keep going, and then went right past him. And I did cheer on the next couple guys too. So it was kind of fun.
Well, you're a nice guy.
So that's where I was like, put the good out there. Maybe he'll come back to me and I can finish this in front. But, leading into the start of mine, that whole picking people off at the start thing, I had the taste for it still, so I just kind of went at it, and I got a better start than I've gotten in the CCC in a long time. And to the point where, we were into the turns in the back, and guys that I'm normally just trounced by were behind me going. One was Rich Lenski, he's on our team, and he was like, wow, Rob, you're looking really good. You're way up there. Man, you're killing me, And he had to fight to get around, but he eventually got around, so it was one of those. I get it, and now I'm kind of working on that for a little bit. And if I had better legs, if I wasn't so beat from the day before, I could have done slightly better, but I looked and I'm in this weird spot in our field where I'd have to do monumentally better to move up 1 or 2 positions. And what I mean by that is I'd have to do like 30 seconds a lap better. And that's a tall order. And I could easily, if I'm a few seconds slower, I'm going to drop quickly through the ranks. So there's this whole batch of us at the back that are kind of on that edge. Brad Dash is like right in front of where I'm sitting, usually 1 or 2 positions up from me.
Mm-hmm.
And I got close to him on the second lap, and we were going through some turns, and he kind of did a double take looking back, and it was like, yep, I'm right here, and he hit the gas. That was the last I saw him. And I kidded with him. I was like, man, if you get any slower, I'm going to be right there on you, and he was like, yeah. He's like, no, I saw you. And yeah, I went a little harder.
I wasn't worried.
So, but I was doing the math, and I'm like, but to move up to where I would want to move up at this point, I'm like, I would want to do 15 to 20 seconds a lap faster very quickly. I did the math. I was like, it's 2 seconds every minute that I'm out there. If I can go 2 seconds faster for every minute that I'm out there,
it doesn't take much.
Yeah. So it's conceivable. But
are they doing a 4-5 breakout in that?
They do a 4-5 breakout. I haven't done the numbers on it, but I don't believe I've scored any points in that competition. So there's definitely faster 4-5s, in that 45 plus group for sure. To the point where if they went up to Wisconsin, I wouldn't have seen, that podium at all. But we've got a couple on our team.
Interesting.
I know Rick and Evan and David Salzman have all been going for that podium week in and week out. So, and I'm not close to Evan or Rick, but David I've seen at the start of a few races, and I've been a couple positions back from him. So, I'm off that podium by a mark. It's not like maybe something I could shoot for in the future, but it's not something I could shoot for at this moment. Realistically, I don't think, but always got to try. From here, jumping into, we've got this weekend at Trek.
Trek is Saturday with their
Wisconsin state championships, and I believe as of right now, I'm going to go up there. I do have to register tonight.
So we're bringing the Fib crew north over the curtain.
Going to do that one quick, and then we got to jet down and make the Fib.
What is that?
FIB.
Oh, you know what that is. Tell me you know what that is.
Fucking Illinois bastards.
It's what was.
I know now.
Now you know.
It's what those Wisconsinites call us. A bunch of fibs.
Oh, I didn't know that. I've never been called a fib before.
Oh, I have.
So
like I was saying, the last time I was up there, when I was talking about, dive bombing the turns, I didn't do it because I didn't want to be called a fib.
We should bring some Malort.
We should, and just give it to somebody.
We say, here,
just hand it to them.
This pairs well with cheese.
Yes. Might I recommend it with a sharp cheddar, or maybe a gear,
But yeah, so that's Saturday, and then Sunday is my closest to home race in Lamont at the Forge.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to that race. I had fun there last year, but whenever Jostein is in charge of something, you always got to get a little worried and be like, okay, so what's this going to be?
He definitely peppers in some circus elements.
Yes, and he's got at least one that I know of this year. I don't know that it'll be circusy. It's supposed to be fairly, inane.
The stairs?
Yeah, but it's all
legit.
soft fill. But it's all soft fill. So it's I'm just worried about what that's going to do throughout the day.
Oh, so it's just like wood chips.
No, I don't think it's wood chips. I think it's soil.
Yeah, they put something in there. I don't know. And I'm the chief ref, so I looked at that and I'm like, oh, I hope it's safe.
Yeah.
Don't want anybody getting hurt this year, please.
I'll be doing the pre-ride, I think. And so we're going to do the trek and then jump the car all the way back, load up all the tents, drive all the way out there, set up the tents, and pre-ride it. And Anthony is dead sure that he wants to pre-ride it. So it's going to be a lot of driving on Saturday, and I'm going to be exhausted on Sunday. But I know I loved that race last year. I highly recommend anybody that's thinking about doing it, come out and do it. But at the same time, this last week, I've been getting flashbacks to the race last year. and all the different small elements that I really wasn't super excited about. So I'm hoping I have a better. I don't want to do it a disservice, but if there's a course that even if you're good at handling your bike, you stand a large chance of getting hurt at, this is going to be it.
Well, hopefully they've listened to a lot because that was the chatter after last year is the transition from all the different surfaces because gravel and wood chips and grass and
That's not their fault.
No, it's not.
It's not their fault. But if there's anything they can do to tweak the turns so that those transitions are less problematic, I'm sure they're going to do it.
Big thing was making sure the feedback was making sure they didn't do the turn on like in the middle of the transition or have the worst material in the middle of the turn, that kind of thing.
Or yes, I mean that's a technical element now is to be aware of it and understand.
As far as I'm concerned, learning how to turn your bike is a skill set.
Well, yeah, for sure, but I mean, this one was tricky enough that a lot of people got hurt.
Yeah, it sounds like I didn't do it last year, but I mean, I think Tim, Rob, you guys know if you're like coming into a turn and you see that there's a change in potential traction, you're going to like straighten it out for half a second while you cross that and then resume turning. So you have to plan and anticipate
and it
that.
Changes.
But not everybody instinctually understands to do that.
Sounds like
and
a
it
good
changes through the
opportunity
race.
for a clinic.
To go back to what you were saying on that first turn at Camrock, like I said, it was full traction, third lap. I hit that going full speed, and I did a dual wheel slide. It went to go slide out from underneath me and dump me.
Yeah.
And I was able to catch it and correct. And then it was like, mental note, don't hit it that fast the next time. So I crept through it.
My only concern with Quarry is if any precipitation comes, you have to take those berms out. You can't use those wooden berms. And there's no way that he ran grip tape on all those berms to keep them grippy.
They're pulling those berms out.
After the race.
Yeah.
They're being removed from the facility after the race.
But they will be in the race.
They'll be in the race. Yeah. But if they're wet, that's worse than the grass to gravel to wood chip transition.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I remember feeling perfectly good on them, but I did dump myself last year first thing in the morning pre-riding them because they were all frozen. And I went up high enough that I hit the frost line on them.
But thinking of that, I think it's supposed to be only like 30.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be cold.
Thinking about where those berms are on the track, there's you can't route around them.
Correct.
So it's just going to be ride the little asphalt pad that's on the ground and stay off the berm.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to what they have, and hopefully I'll get a chance to go down there and pre-ride it. I will say it's one of my favorite races of the year. I do like the venue. I like the people putting it on. I do like the course. I like the vibe, all those things. So it's, I'm glad it's there and I can't wait to do it.
I mean, we could have some morning dew, I suppose, but Saturday is all dry and mid 30s. It starts out and goes up into the 40s during the day. And then Sunday, the low temperatures are like 36 degrees overnight. So it doesn't even get down to freezing.
It's not going to be 40 by the time
8 a.m.
I race.
It's 39.
Oof. I'll stay.
Yeah. I'll be racing in the 30s, which I did at one race or two races this year.
So there's usually a little morning dew per se.
That's a load of doo-doo.
Run your most durable set of tires.
Yeah. Although, I'll have to see what traction does, but I don't know. It's looking like we're getting snow tomorrow.
3 to 5 inches right now. It's calling for in Lamont on Thursday. So that gives, and that's
everywhere.
It's a high of 45 Friday and 44 Saturday. So whatever we get is going to melt.
But the problem is how long it takes to melt, how ready the ground is to absorb it, and how much wind there's going to be to help it dry off. I was wondering about Trek because we're going up there. And I'm like, they're going to get hit by the same stuff we are. And I've been through a mudder up there, and I do not like mudders up there. But I was talking to Erin Feldhausen. She works there at Trek, and she had gone out and taken a look at the path, the route for this year as it's laid in. She's like, I couldn't make total sense of it, but I can make a lot of it. And This is the way I think it's going to go. And I told her I was worried about mud, and because they're getting the same snow we are. And she's like, nah, it won't be. She goes, it might be a little damp in some areas, maybe slick in a couple corners, but for the most part, it's going to be pretty much dried up.
Yeah, they are in the right around 40 degrees all day Friday with very low chance of precipitation. So
I mean, if the wind kicks up a little bit there, then it will be just fine.
8 a.m. 33 degrees in Madison.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's not Madison, but close enough.
We'll see.
All right.
So that may have me on my Flandrians, which I have not raced or even ridden this season. So I might take those up there and see how they do.
Bring your dunes.
Dunes? Yeah, that's a thought. I would rather have chicanes, I think, but I don't have chicanes. So I guess I would have to mess with the dunes. I have too many tires at this point. And I got to be honest, I've spent most of the season on those Grifos, those 38 Grifos.
Junkie boys.
And they've been great. I mean, I will say they were a little slick. Wheeling, they were a little slick in a couple places. You guys didn't do Grifos, did you?
I did Grifos both
Okay.
days, and I wasn't going very fast on Sunday, and I never had any issues with my Grifos.
I've raced Griffo tubeless Saturday, and then I raced PDX Sunday because I took one pre-lap at Wheeling. Was like, nah, Griffo's not the tire.
Yeah.
Especially not in the tubeless version.
Yeah.
So
it really wasn't. It was okay when we started. By the end of our race, there was one or two corners where I did, two wheel slides in.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with a little sliding on the rear end, but when I'm washing the front, that's when I start rethinking things. And I definitely could have done, if I had had the Flandrians, they would have been a better tire, for sure, for me on Sunday. Saturday though, Grifo was fine. It was perfect. I hooked up with almost everything.
I wish I had a chicane there. I didn't bring them.
Yeah, because you guys even dried out. The only place the one spot where it was greasy in front of the pavilion that got greasier, I believe, through the day. But the rest of it, I think
nobody's going fast through there anyway.
Yeah.
But
so, all right. Well, we're running long in the tooth. We're gonna let this one go. But thank you for listening. Go out and get yourself some buttonhole chamois cream at your local retailer or online. You can always contact us directly as well. But we encourage you to get it in your local shop. Send us any questions you would like to roadisdead, all one word, at gmail.com. Once again, roadisdead at gmail.com. Go out and ride your bike. If you have an opportunity to race it, go race it. If you don't feel comfortable racing it, go watch it. And ask somebody around you what it's all about. And if you're in the Chicagoland area, come out to one of these races and introduce yourself, and we'll get you riding. We'll see what we can do. So thanks for joining us. Like, share, and tell other people to listen to it. And enjoy the ride.
Peace out.